not swayed by the weekend's turn of events.
I've wanted this for a while and thought about it and taken a class or two, and talked to my grandson and just, I've been having this on my mind for a while. Not so much because of anything like that.
Now, Adventure Outdoors says they normally sell between 40 to 45 guns a day. On yesterday, they sold just north of 80. Reporting live in Smyrna, Angelique Proctor.
Don't blame them.
Sobering statistics there, Angelique. Thanks. Georgia remains a critical swing state in the 2024 presidential election, and getting voters to the ballot box is imperative.
Today, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger announced a new initiative to secure safe and accurate elections. The state has teamed up with Vet the Vote to encourage our nation's veterans to serve as poll workers. Vet the Vote has recruited 135,000 veterans to serve as poll workers, and the number is still growing.
Raffensperger says he's having veterans at the polls add a level of comfort to one of our nation's most patriotic acts of service.
People that have dedicated their life, signed a blank check when they volunteered for military service, and now want to come back and serve their country in this way to really serve the democracy at the ballot box.
Vet the Vote will be recruiting veterans in Paulding County, Muskogee County, and other counties with high veteran concentrations.
Sandy Springs police have several members of a highly trained task
might
force on
volunteer for
the
that.
ground in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention.
But it's not a reaction to the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. As Fox 5's Kim Leffler found out, they plan to head that way for a long time now.
The Sandy Springs Police Department says their officers are the only ones from Georgia assisting with security at the Republican National Convention after a nationwide call for help.
So several months ago, the Milwaukee PD Chief of Police reached out to law enforcement agencies across the country and requested assistance for security during this week.
And Sandy Springs Police Department's Quick Response Force, seen here at a previous event, answered that call. There's some of the dozens of local law enforcement agencies across the country at the convention.
They responded to several different events, whether it be like civil unrest or riot control or protests that may have gotten out of hand.
The team of 8 police officers and 1 attack medic with the Sandy Springs Fire Department left on Saturday, just before the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Sergeant Milholland says thanks to full staffing, they're able to provide support in Milwaukee throughout the week.
We've got the personnel to cover Sandy Springs and protect our citizens here, and also, like I said, to help out with our brothers and sisters in Milwaukee.
While tensions remain high following Saturday's attack, Milholland says the Sandy Springs team hasn't seen any major incidents in Milwaukee.
I communicate daily with Lieutenant McGinnis, who's the commander of the Quick Response Force, and morale is high. They're doing well. Motivation's high.
This isn't the first time this team has assisted at a major event. They also were on the ground at the 2012 Democratic National Convention in Charlotte. In Sandy Springs, Kim Leffler, Fox 5 News.
Kim, thanks. Our coverage on the RNC and the attempt on former President Trump's life continues throughout the day. For all the latest breaking news alerts and updates to our top stories, you can check the Fox 5 Atlanta News app.
Upscale hotel in Bangkok today, including at least 1 Vietnamese American. The country's prime minister has ordered an immediate investigation. And TD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
American.
Today, Thai police encountered 6 bodies at Bangkok's luxury Grand Hyatt Erawan Hotel. Officers arrived on scene after receiving a call from the hotel staff at around 5:30 p.m. local time. Bangkok's police chief said a maid discovered the bodies after the guests failed to check out and found it locked from the inside. He added that there were no signs of a struggle. Authorities said all of the deceased were foreign nationals, 3 male and 3 female. The Grand Hyatt Erawan has over 350 rooms and is located in a popular tourist district known for luxury shopping and restaurants. The incident comes as Thailand looks to promote its tourism industry, a key driver of Southeast Asia's second largest economy. Police are still looking for a 7th person included in the booking. A cause of death has not been confirmed. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
According to a report from a Singaporean media outlet, 4 of the 6 people were Vietnamese nationals and 2 of them were Vietnamese Americans. After a preliminary investigation, the police said they believe the cause of death was poisoning, but it's still unclear whether the individuals committed suicide or were poisoned. NTD could not verify this information at this time. Next.
Border policies. Biden stopped deportations and stopped building the wall. Now illegals are streaming across the border in record numbers, overrunning our cities, committing crimes including murder and rape, and busting budgets. More for illegals, less for us. Less for cops, roads, and schools. Only President Trump will secure the border and stop the invasion of illegals. Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
As a professional nominee, the convention will take place August 19th through the 22nd in Chicago. We will, of course, bring you complete coverage of that convention as well. In the meantime, Democrats have invested in swing states. They plan to pour $15 million into 7 different states to help open more campaign offices and bring in more staff for Biden's reelection campaign. Georgia will receive $1 million as part of Democratic efforts. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Nevada will also receive funding. On the other side, one man has pledged a huge amount of money to the Republican side of the race. Elon Musk says he plans to donate around $45 million a month to a pro-Trump super PAC. That, according to a Wall Street Journal report, Musk will donate to a newly founded PAC funded by other wealthy backers, including Musk's friends. The organization focuses on getting people to vote early and requests mail-in ballots in swing states. In March, Musk said he wouldn't donate to either campaign, but formally endorsed former President Trump after his attempted assassination on Saturday.
I was just trying to help somebody out, somebody who was in need. And I heard him pull the trigger about 2-3 times. Nothing came out, thank God.
A California man decided to fight back when someone tried to steal his vehicle while he was sitting in the driver's seat. Jose Ragosa says he was in the car with his wife when a man came up to the car and threatened them with a handgun. Instead of getting out, he decided to fight the suspect and even chase them around the block. The suspect eventually made his way back to the car and drove off with the victim's groceries, 2 months worth of rent, and his work tools. LAPD says the car has been recovered and the suspect is behind bars on multiple charges.
Fox 5 News at 6 starts.
Case. The appeals court has set the hearing for December 5th. Former President Trump and his co-defendants have pushed to have Fulton County DA Fani Willis disqualified. They argue her romantic relationship with former special prosecutor Nathan Wade represented a conflict of interest. Again, oral arguments on that issue are now set for December 5th. Our other top story tonight.
Lead. Fox's Kevin Stewart has been digging into this data. He joins us here in studio with the results. Are pretty interesting, Kevin.
Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. He's in the lead by 3 points, but within the poll's margin of error of 4.2%. So this is still a toss-up. It's important to note that this is the first poll since the assassination attempt of the former president, and the details, I think it's fair to say, are interesting.
You have to really know Georgia and watch Georgia to understand that it probably now is the bellwether state, in my opinion, for the nation.
Insider Advantage Chairman Matt Towery has studied and reported on Georgia politics for years. In the latest Insider Advantage poll of 800 likely Georgia voters, former President Donald Trump leads President Joe Biden 47% to 44%. It's close. No shocker, Towery says.
It's 3 points that Biden will have to work very hard to get back.
Towery says, take a closer look at the enthusiasm gap. 65% say they're enthusiastic about voting, while only 34% who say they plan to vote consider themselves enthusiastic. Most in that category are Democrats.
The enthusiasm gap would have to really come a lot closer, and there can't be that sort of 30-point gap.
Digging deeper into the demographic data, take a look. Among 18 to 39-year-olds, the former president gets 61% of the Georgia vote. President Biden only 24%. But among 40 to 64-year-olds, the president takes a 14-point lead. Towery calls this middle-aged group the Not in My Country Club group, folks turned off by the former president's style.
Trump is making some progress with that group. I've seen some movement in his direction, and that shows up in the independent voters.
In which he has a nearly 30% lead over President Biden.
You don't have a massive independent
Biden ain't going to make it.
It used to be bigger, by the way, in Georgia. But it will clearly play a major role. That and turnout.
Now, Georgia is a battleground state. Our growing population and changing demographics play a key role in that. The president has a commanding lead among Black and Latino voters. Donald Trump only has 7% of the Black vote and a third of the Latino vote. And last night you saw the GOP's attempt to put diversity on display.
Yeah.
Guys?
they're clearly paying attention to data that shows them that these voters may be within reach. So it'll be interesting to see how things turn out. Kevin, thanks. As Kevin mentioned, Georgia remains a critical swing state in the 2024 presidential election, and getting voters to the ballot box is imperative. Today, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger announced a new initiative to secure safe and accurate elections. The state has teamed up with Vet the Vote to encourage our nation's veterans to serve as poll workers. Vet the Vote has recruited 135,000 veterans across the nation to serve as poll workers, and that number is still growing. Raffensperger says having veterans at the polls adds a level of comfort to one of our nation's most patriotic acts of service.
That people that dedicated their lives, signed a blank check when they volunteered for military service, and now want to come back and serve their country in this way to really serve the democracy at the ballot box.
Vet the Vote will be recruiting veterans in Paulding County, Muskogee County, and other counties with high veteran concentrations.
What about
Well, make America safe again. That is the theme for day 2 of the Republican National Convention. Tonight's speeches will focus on public safety as Republicans aim to highlight what they see as a rising crime under the Biden administration. But along with the day's agenda, the party is pushing another clear message: unity. Tonight, 2 of Mr. Trump's former rivals will be taking the stage: Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Both were last-minute additions to the schedule and are expected to urge undecided voters to back the Trump-Vance ticket.
The issues that face America are inflation, a porous southern border, crime in our streets. Those big issues are things that J.D. Vance can speak to in a way that not a lot of other politicians can.
So far, Republicans have mostly rallied behind former President Trump's choice of J.D. Vance as his running mate. Democrats say Vance represents the extreme MAGA agenda.
Sandy Springs police have several members of a highly trained task force in their department on the ground in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. Fox 5's Kim Leffler found out they've planned to head that way for months.
The Sandy Springs Police Department says their officers are the only ones from Georgia assisting with security at the Republican National Convention after a nationwide call for help.
So several months ago, the Milwaukee PD chief of police reached out to law enforcement agencies across the country and requested assistance for security during this week.
And Sandy Springs Police Department's quick response force, seen here at a previous event, answered that call.
Well, the Sandy